As I've told you in the past, I was a financial advisor for a number of years, and I built a sizable practice, one of the largest in the country within the Ameriprise system. And I really found I enjoyed estate planning, and it I did that. I really focused on it because most people don't. And what it really does is it gives you the ability to control your assets after you pass away. And I had this one couple. He was about 67 years old and she was about 58 years old. Very attractive couple. And they came in to me. I'd been working with them for a couple of years, and they came in and said, Kerry, we don't like our children, and we like their spouses even less. I said, okay, what's this all about? They said, we don't want to leave our children and our their spouses any money because they don't make good financial decisions. They just blow everything that they have. And I don't want to, they basically said, we don't want to contribute to their lack of good financial sense. And we don't want our money being wasted the way they're wasting their own money. And I said, whoa, okay. So what do you want to do? Give it to a charity or something of that nature? And they said, oh, no. We want to leave it to our grandchildren. I thought, well, okay, who's raising those grandchildren and what are they going to be like? But I didn't mention that. And so in essence, what they were asking me to do was set up what is called a generation skipping trust. And that is that you basically set it up so that you leave a little something to the children, so that they can't come and say, well, they weren't in a good mental state. There's no reason that they would have bypassed us, or that financial advisor they had, Kerry Grinkmeyer, did this in vengeance against us for some reason. So what you do is you leave them each about $1,000. So the will, the trust, basically says, we considered this very extensively, and we want to give them each $1,000. And then we want to give all the rest to our grandchildren. So as I explained to them, well, you could die tomorrow or the day after we set this up. So we have to build some restrictions in it as to when that money becomes available to the grandchildren. Because again, how old are they now? And as I remember, they were in grade school. So I said, well, you don't want the money going to them then. And then you've got to set someone up as a trustee to manage the money and oversee the money and enforce the rules of the trust until they reach their age. I said, when would you want to give them the money? And they had an estate that was probably going to be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million after they sold their house and their possessions and his 401k and her 401k and their savings and things of that nature. So they had about $1 million, and they had 2 grandkids. So I suggested, well, you probably want to divide it out equally to them, and then you want to determine when they get access to it. And I would say, be careful that you don't give them access too soon and give them access to all of it at a certain time. So the way we ended up doing it was saying, well, let's provide a small amount to make sure they have availability for college education. And you can basically build into the trust to say that we will provide up to $100,000 for college education if they enroll in a accredited college. If they don't have access to that money. And then you can say, and then we will give them access to so much more when they're 30, so much more when they're 40, and so on. So you can build into it exactly how you want to distribute it. But then again, you have to have a trustee. This is someone, and it's probably not going to be the two children because they're not going to be very cooperative to giving the money they thought they would receive to their children. So we did that. Then I suggested the other thing you need to consider is that she's substantially younger than you, and there's a high probability, statistically, a probability that he is going to pass away before she does. So you need to protect your assets. And there I would suggest, and what we did was what is called an irrevocable trust. And what that is the money nothing happens to his money until he dies. And at that time, the money goes into an irrevocable trust. And within that trust, again, you have an administrator, and you basically give her access at some levels to that money so that she can go on and live. But what you're really doing is protecting your estate, your assets from some gold digger. Some 45-year-old handsome surfer shows up and sweeps your wife off her feet, and she goes silly about it, and he ends up taking all of your assets, and there's nothing then to fund the generation skipping trust. So, and again, she'll sit there and say, well, that isn't going to happen. Well, and what if I die first and he gets some young blonde? And okay, then we set one up for him as well, that her assets go into an irrevocable trust. My point is that you need to be aware that through an attorney and an estate planning attorney, you can pretty much control your assets for a long, long time. If you have nonsensical wealth, you can give it to a charity. I had a widow who had no children and had no grandchildren, and she was worth about $500,000. And I said, "Who do you want your money to go to, Elizabeth?" And because she was up in her late 60s, and she said, "I want it to go to the Humane Society." I said, "Okay. Why the Humane Society?" She said, "When I was in first grade, I went to school." She said, we lived in a house that didn't have any running water or any heat. We lived in southern Alabama, and the house was up on stilts. And I went to school, and everybody made fun of me. She said, I was the Dolly Parton who was dressed in rags, and they made fun of me. And I went home and I cried. I crawled under the house. The house was on stilts, and I crawled under the house. And nobody came to me except the dogs and cats. And the dogs and cats wanted to comfort me and make me feel comfortable. So I want to give my assets, everything I have, to the Humane Society to take care of the people who took care of me, the dogs and cats. And we did. We set up a trust that funded the Birmingham Humane Society. They knew nothing about it, and she passed away. And I and an attorney contacted the Humane Society and said, "Here, you've got." It was about $500,000 that dropped in their lap. Her sister died when she was 100. She did the same thing to her church and to the botanical gardens here in Birmingham. So I just want to impress upon you that financial planning is a good thing. It gives you control of your assets after you leave. And if you want to make a difference, and that's something I believe very, very strongly in, is that we're here for this on this earth for a reason. And part of that reason is to make those who follow us better people and teach them, and so they learn from them. But also it's to leave something behind. You're going to learn, if you're new to this channel, I believe very strongly in that. I've written those 3 books, and I've got another one about the tribe that I'm building. That's just become available the 15th here of June. And then I wrote this Christmas book, The Christmas Web. And so think about this. I'm leaving things behind. I will never die. I will literally never die because I don't know how many videos I've made over the last year and a half, and I'm probably going to just keep making them. So Carrie Grinkmeyer will never die in many forms. I also paint. You've probably, or if you've been to my other channel, you've seen, I wanted Picassos in my house. So I painted Picasso. I wanted a Van Gogh. So I painted a Vincent van Gogh painting, and it's in our hallway. Salvador Dali. Boy, if you've never been to the Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida, it is an experience. Wow. And I saw a painting in there that I just fell in love with. It has something to do with the birth of the United States. And I said, I want that. And I actually found out its exact measurements, and I got multiple pictures of it, and I studied the depth of paint as to how he painted, and I created it. And it's in my house. I have a Salvador Dali painting painted by Carrie Grinkmeyer. What's the difference? It's a Salvador Dali. And that's important to me, leaving something behind. And then I have paintings that I have done that are just purely my creation. I have a huge tomato that sits behind our dining room table. You need to leave something behind. My grandfather's, I never knew my mother's. He died before my mother's father. He died before I was born. And my father's father was seldom around. I only have maybe 3 memories of him in my life, and he died in 1957, and I was born in 1944. So what is that? I was about not 13 years. Is that right? Anyway, I have very little memory of him, and he left nothing behind. Look around your house. What are you going to leave behind that your great, great, great grandchildren can say, I know my great, great, great grandfather. They'll know me. That book's about the first 14 years of my life and how I created an unwanted roommate that really screwed me up for a long, long time. That's a book about how I got rid of him. So that's what I want this channel to be all about, is help you through your retirement, help you as a young person plan for your retirement, and help you leave something behind. If I can do that, my time on this earth was worth the time I spent. And I'll never die because I've got all these videos that now are spanning about 1.5 years. And I don't see this ending until I go senile. All right. And my NMN is going to make sure that's pushed even further into the future. So that's my take on generation skipping trust. I want to do one on long-term care and some other things. And I want you to write in the comments what you'd like me to talk about. And then later, we're going to build a tribe here of retired people or people planning for retirement and how we can learn from each other. Look, we all do some things right and we all make mistakes. We should learn from each other. So I think my writing of books, my painting, my videos are some of the things that I've done right. And I want to share them with you. And then I'll also share with you some of the things I've done wrong. And some of those are in that book and that book, so that you can learn from it. Okay, I've talked enough, shared enough, and I'll be talking to you again soon.